Today I'm going to be going through 28 teams, 14 matchups, and over 40 running backs that you should be starting or sitting going into week 5 of the fantasy football season. But before we get into it, just one reminder here. We do have teams on a bye week: Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which means Jerome Ford, Austin Eckler, Kenneth Walker, and Rashad White that you should be moving outside of your lineups and putting them on your bench before the start of week 5. Let's get straight into the matchups here. Let's start off with the Thursday night game, Bears at the Commanders here. Over under is 44.5. The Commanders are favorites and kind of makes sense with the Bears the way they lost to the Denver Broncos this past week, and a lot of questionable decisions. I know a lot of people put that on Justin Fields, but they really set him up to fail, in my personal opinion. But we are talking about the running back position here. Khalil Herbert is my first running back, and he is somebody I believe is a risky start coming in to this week. Yes, he did have a good bounce back game, had over 22 fantasy points, but that's exactly what we expected when he was going against the Denver Broncos, who gave up the most fantasy points to the running back position. Now he's playing the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are a significantly better defense than the Denver Broncos, and I think this team and this offense is going to struggle coming into this week. So he is somebody, I understand if you have to start him because of the bye weeks, but what I would do is a risky start. Now, I'm not starting him with confidence. And Rashawn Johnson, he is somebody I'm going to be sitting going into week 5 until we get a little bit more of more consistency, more snaps going into the season. Going to the Commanders side of the ball, Brian Robinson, a must start for me. Currently RB7 on the year. Didn't have the best matchup. He did play the Philadelphia Eagles, but what we saw with Sam Howell and how this team was dueling, going back-to-back, head-to-head with the Philadelphia Eagles, makes you wonder, this team should be significantly better and have a higher upside and higher chance of scoring going against the Chicago Bears here. Brian Robinson has been phenomenal so far this season. I think that will continue going against the Bears, who give up the second most points to the running back position. So keep that in mind. I'm not starting Antonio Gibson coming into this week either, so make sure you take him out of your lineup. All right, going to the next matchup here, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Buffalo Bills. Another London game, by the way. Over under 48. Bills are in favor. Travis Etienne is the first one that we need to talk about here. I think he is a must-start. RB15 on the year. Very disappointing game against the Atlanta Falcons, my personal opinion. Not the best matchup versus the Bills, but to be honest, they just gave up 27 points to Devon Achane. It would have been more, in my opinion, if Raheem didn't fumble those two balls. So I think you can imagine that this offense, the Jacksonville Jaguars, abandoning the run game, maybe throwing the ball a little bit more with Travis Etienne. But look, it's hard not to sit Travis Etienne. He's a top guy, top fourth round draft pick that you picked. And you kind of have to start him moving forward, to be completely honest. So start him with confidence and close your eyes and see what happens here. Tank Bigsby is also a must-sit coming into this week. Going to the Bills side of the ball here, James Cook, RB12 on the year. Who said James Cook wasn't going to see any goal line touches? We saw one this past week, and he got into the end zone. They called it a touchdown. And hey, I think you can see not a lot more. Maybe I would say over under. Put it in the comments down below. James Cook this year, over 4 touchdowns. 2023. I'll say over 4 touchdowns. That feels confident. So you start James Cook with some confidence here against the Jacksonville Jaguars. In my personal opinion, he's going to get a lot of work in the air and continue to do what he does. Damian Harris and Latavius Murray are both must sit. Surprisingly, Latavius Murray, if you are in a deeper league, maybe a 16-man league, you need a running back and you need help, Latavius Murray has been out snapping at the moment Damian Harris. So once again, if you're in a deep league, that is somebody that it's a risky start, but nowhere near starting in a 12-10 man league. All right, going to the start of the 1 p.m. slate games, Texans at the Falcons, over under 41.5. Falcons are favored in this game, which I believe the Texans should be favored coming into this game, especially the way that they've been playing lights out, in my personal opinion. They've been losing games, but have been scoring the ball, which is exciting here. Dameon Pierce is a must-start. RB27 onto the year. Look, Pierce, I do believe, without a doubt, has been very disappointing so far. And I think that's just because how great CJ Stroud has been playing in the air. They're not really needing to abandon the passing game to run the ball, kind of like Davis Mills. Every time he threw the ball, it was a hella risk. He was risking the ball. Almost throwing interceptions every single time. Not great ball placement, where CJ Stroud is moving the ball down the field, and this offense is a lot more explosive when they are throwing the ball, which means, in my opinion, if they are moving the ball and he gets into the goal line area, I can easily see him scoring a couple touchdowns here. So keep that in mind. He is a must start. Devin Singletary is a sit coming into this week. Bijan Robinson, the other side of the ball, a must-start, RB5 on the year. He is just different and clearly the better running back coming into this season. And I'm sorry for all the Tyler Algier truthers. I remember week 1, everyone saying, I told you that Tyler Algier was going to have an opportunity coming into this week or into the season. That has 100% changed coming into the season now. Or if we look at it now, 26% of the snap share, just under 2 fantasy points. And even since week 1, he has been decreasing. 56% snap share week 1, 44 week 2, 30 week 3, 26 week 4. And that's going to, in my opinion, he's only going to be there when Bijan Robinson is exhausted or out of breath, right? So Tyler Algier, a must sit moving forward until we get some new information, right? But Bijan Robinson, clearly the guy there for this offense. Going to the next matchup here, Panthers at the Lions, over under 45. Lions are favored coming into this matchup here. Starting at the Panthers side of the ball, Miles Sanders, it was clear that Miles Sanders is still dealing with that groin injury and wasn't healthy. Only got 45% of the snap shares, got under 7 points. If you have Miles Sanders and you are struggling with the running back position, I completely understand why you have to start him, but he is not somebody I'm wanting to start. It is a risky start based off your depth, but I completely understand. Now, if Miles Sanders somehow doesn't play coming into this week and you have Chuba Hubbard, he is somebody I am sitting, because even with Miles Sanders out, I'm not wanting to start Chuba Hubbard with confidence. You know, I would rather take the risk somewhere else if there is some other people that you have on the waiver wires or on your team. So comment down below if you are struggling in this matchup specifically. And at the Lions side of the ball, look, you start David Montgomery. I mean, he has been great so far. I mean, RB9 not this past week, but RB9 so far in the season, scoring over 34 fantasy points this past week. You know, finished RB2 on the week alone. So you have to start him with confidence. But I think the biggest question, which I think a lot of people are asking, what about Jahmyr Gibbs? I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think anyone knows what to tell you what to do. I can tell you that David Montgomery is a clear lead back, and how disappointing it is with the draft capital that the Lions has spent, a 12-round draft capital, or 12-pick draft capital in the first round, and Jahmyr Gibbs is only seeing 37% of the snap share. Maybe that was just because David Montgomery was cooking it on the ground, that he was the best runner on the ground that day, clearly, or whatever the case may be. But Jahmyr Gibbs is still efficient on the ground and in the air, but look, it's a risky start, but I understand if you start him. I think he is a must start, honestly, just because of the draft capital in any given game that he can rush for 100+ yards. We just haven't seen that yet in the season. So keep that in mind. So Jahmyr Gibbs, a risky start coming into this week. All right, going to our next matchup here, our 5th matchup of the week. Still, Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts, a divisional game. 42.5. Colts are favored. Hey, Anthony Richardson has been playing lights out. It's been great. I mean, what a game this past week for Anthony Richardson. Had a honestly phenomenal game. Almost coming back there. But he did come back. Game goes into overtime. They do lose, but still, great outcome in my personal opinion. The way he is playing. If you are a Colts fan, stand up. Derrick Henry on that side of the ball, RB11 on this year so far. This past week, we finally saw the Derrick Henry we all waited for finish RB7. Yeah, over 26 fantasy points. This is the Derrick Henry that I was expecting coming into this year. This offense, this team is better when Derrick Henry is getting 25+ touches on the ground or in the day. And he is clearly running the ball with confidence. If you can't get Derrick Henry on the ground, you can't get this offense on, rolling. I think that is the biggest thing here, and I hope they continue. He is a must-start coming into this week. Personally, the Colts do give up a good amount of points to the running back position, so keep that in mind. So start Derrick Henry with confidence. Tyjae Spears, I am not starting coming into this week. On the other side of the ball, the Indianapolis Colts, I think this is a big one here because If Jonathan Taylor plays, you kind of have to start him, even though the Titans are really good against the run defense. They are bottom 5 in points allowed to the running back position here. So I think that is something really interesting to keep in mind. And also, what is that report going to look like? Are we going to get that report from Jonathan Taylor? Said Jonathan Taylor's going to come back, but what is that snap count? Are they going to slowly integrate him in? Is he going to get, I don't know, a Breece Hall type of workload like week 1? You know, is he going to gradually come? Is he going to get 20, 35, 45, 50? Is he even worth starting coming into this week? I think he is, because it's JT and he's a great running back. But this is what I would say. If JT is there, he's a must start. Now, if JT is out and Zach Moss is the only primary running back, I think that's where it turns into a risky start for Zach Moss. And there's some maybe other people that I would rather be starting over Zach Moss if JT doesn't play coming into week 5. All right, going into the next matchup here, my Giants at the Miami Dolphins. What a disappointing start to the season. I don't even want to talk about it, so let's continue moving forward. 49.5 Dolphins are favored without a doubt here. Giants, if Saquon Barkley plays, you start Saquon Barkley. He can definitely change this offense and hopefully bring a spark to this offense. So if Saquon Barkley plays, you play him. Now, if he doesn't play, even though the Dolphins do give up the 8th most fantasy points to the running back position, I am not sure if I want to start Matt Breida. Even though what we saw from Matt Breida this week, over 12 fantasy points, he caught 5 out of 5 on the ground, or in the air, excuse me. He got the work in the air, and that's exactly what we expected. We was like, look, he can get you minimum of 10 to 12 fantasy points, which is exactly what he got. But this is a tough matchup, to be completely honest with you. And I don't know if they should be throwing the ball to the running back, but hey, maybe they do, especially with the way this offensive line is playing. So keep that in mind. Matt Breida, a risky start. Saquon Barkley, you start him if he plays. On the Dolphins side of the ball, let's not waste any time here. Devon Achane, you start, and Raheem Mostert, you start. RB4 Devon is Raheem Mostert, RB3 on the year. I think we can start seeing this trend where Devon is going to be taking more snaps over Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert did lose 2 fumbles this past game, which really hindered him, and maybe that's where we can see the trend of Devon taking those opportunities away. So you start with confidence here. All right, our next matchup, Saints at the Patriots. 39.5. Patriots are favored coming into this week, which makes sense because of Derek Carr and that injury. And if he can't be throwing the ball, I just don't know what he can do. And that's what really helped Alvin Kamara this past week. 14 targets, caught 13 out of 14 targets is absolutely crazy. And look, I don't expect that every single game, but we saw that Alvin Kamara is significantly needed in this offense. He is a must start moving forward. In my personal opinion, he is exactly what we expected him to be. Has really outscored his peers at the running back position, Jamal, Tony, and Kendre Miller, if I'm not mistaken, all the fantasy points in the year, either outscored him or very close to outscoring all 3 of them so far in the last 3 games that we saw them play in. So keep that in mind. Alvin Kamara, a great start. Obviously, Kendre Miller, you are sitting. And then the other side of the ball, the New England Patriots, you start Ramondre Stevenson. Still, he didn't have the best week, but you have to expect him to kind of bounce back here, right? Under 6 fantasy points this past week, two really bad games, but they'll get the ball rolling back here. Hopefully, you never know. I mean, with Bailey Zappi potentially be coming in, that is something that we need to keep an eye out coming into this week as well. And Zeke, going to be utilized my ass. Excuse my language. Got a tweet. Oh, Zeke should be utilized. It's going to be utilized a lot more coming into week 4. That didn't happen. My guy barely got any work. What you mean? 40% of the snap, only 6 carries? That's a lot of work. That's a lot. He went from 16 to 6. I'm sorry, don't start him. Going to our next matchup here, Ravens at the Steelers. Over under 38.5. Ravens are favored. This is one of the lowest over unders of the week, so keep that in mind. Ravens side of the ball at the running back position, Gus is a risky start, not somebody that I'm willing to start coming into this week. I understand, once again, if you are struggling at the running back position, for example, this is a good one. Like if you have Chuba Hubbard, I'm starting Gus Edwards over Chuba Hubbard, right? That's a good example there for you guys if you are struggling at the running back position. Justice Hill, you're not starting moving forward, obviously. And then the Steelers side of the ball, 2 risky players, Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. I mean, what can I tell you? 11 points. for Najee Harris, 10 points for Jaylen Warren. This offense is going to look different with Mitch Trubisky, right? Kenny Pickett is going to be missing some time. Even Pat Freiermuth is going to miss some time. So they're going to have to get some more options in the air. Maybe they run 2 running backs somehow and they kind of get the ball rolling that way. They get a little bit more creative. Maybe they fire Matt Canada. It sounds terrible, but he needs to go because this offense is terrible. So Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren both are risky starts moving forward, going into week 5. The 9th matchup here, Bengals at the Arizona Cardinals. This is the start of the afternoon games here. 44.5, Bengals are favored. Hey, it's been tough, and Joe Burrow clearly is not mobile with that calf, and that is a huge problem, which is really frustrating because why aren't they running the ball more? I mean, I know 14 attempts on the ground for Joe Mixon, who has been pretty good, 4.7 yards per carry. It's not terrible, but 14 carries for Joe Burrow that can't run the ball. Granted, it was against the Tennessee Titans, who are a top run defense currently in the year so far, which may be why they couldn't run the ball. But maybe in this week, going against the Arizona Cardinals, who do give up the third most fantasy points to the running back position, I do believe this could be a good matchup for Joe Mixon here, and hopefully they can get the ball rolling with the Cincinnati Bengals, so keep that in mind. James Conner on the other side of the ball, you are starting as well. Should have a bounce back game. Play the 49ers this past week, and the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. So 2 tough matches, but even then he did play well against the Dallas Cowboys. So you start him with confidence, should have a bounce back game. Going to our next matchup here, Eagles at the Rams, over under 49.5. Eagles are favored, obviously. So running back position here, look, this has been great for DeAndre Swift. Shout out to all you DeAndre Swift truthers. I wasn't one, not that I'm saying I was against DeAndre Swift. I was just in the middle. I was like, I didn't believe in Rashad Penny, but I also didn't know if DeAndre Swift could stay healthy. So if you're out there really backing DeAndre Swift, shout out to you. Has been phenomenal on the ground and in the air. He is somebody that is a must-start moving forward. RB8 on the season. And his backup, I would call him, Kenneth Walker, to be completely honest, not somebody, Kenneth Gainwell, not somebody I'm willing to start RB47 on the year, and is getting less and less more opportunities coming into this season. On the other side of the ball, Kyren Williams, he is a must-start, but I would say a risky start at that. A risky must-start, especially the way this Eagles defense has been playing. They've been holding a lot of these running backs to, I mean, we saw what they did to James Conner, we saw what they did to Brian Robinson. We saw what they did to Alexander Madison, and the list goes on. Not somebody I am excited to start, but if anyone can make this guy fantasy relevant in this matchup, it is Matthew Stafford and Kyren Williams, especially if they get Cooper Kupp back this week. So keep that in mind. Going to our next matchup, Jets at the Broncos, over under 43.5. Broncos are favored, which after the way Zach Wilson played, maybe that's going to change as the week goes on. This one I'm really excited about. Close your eyes. You're watching NFL Red Zone. Scott Hanson, Jets at Broncos. What does that remind you of? Breece Hall, the last time he played at the Mile High Stadium, he tore his ACL. Breece Hall finally comes back here. After almost a year since he tore his ACL, what did he do those past couple games? Breece Hall was going off right before he tore his ACL. Can he pick up right where he left off a year ago? I would understand why people say, well, we kind of saw that in week 1 against the Bills. I think this is different. This is Breece Hall walking in, Mamba mentality. I'm back, baby. This is where it happened last time, and this is where I say, hey, world, I am back and here to stay. This is week 5 into the season. This is kind of what we were expecting Breece Hall to kind of get the full workload. We saw him. It was struggling, but we saw him getting more opportunities. He looked significantly better than Dalvin Cook. Breece Hall, in my opinion, is a must-start. A risky must-start, but somebody that you should be starting going against the Denver Broncos. Why? Because they give up the most fantasy points to the running back position. Actually, this is a must start for me. I said risky must start. I'm switching it to a must start, a super must start, because I don't understand how Breece Hall doesn't cook this offense here. The only way he doesn't is because he is not getting the full workload. That is my true opinion. So start Breece Hall with some confidence here. Going to the other, and Dalvin Cook, Thank you for your service, man. You've been great so far. You were a great fantasy relevant running back a couple years ago. It's not anymore. No, thank you. Going to the Denver Broncos side of the ball, Javonte Williams against the Jets, who give up the 11th most fantasy points to the running back position. This Jets run defense is not the best, but their secondary is good. So I think Javonte Williams, if he does play, he is a must start coming in, depending on your running back depth. But hey, if he doesn't play with that injury, sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. It's really difficult. I'm gonna call him, McLaughlin. Excuse me. Jalen McLaughlin finishes the RB9 this past week. If Javonte doesn't play, he looked explosive. He got the ball in the air, and I think that is somebody that I am willing to start over someone like a Samaje Perine. Caught 3 out of 3 in the air, 32 yards and a touchdown, but had 7 attempts on the ground for 72 yards. And that's when he was taking over this backfield, right? Because Samaje Perine didn't really see, he got the work, but he didn't get too much of the work, in my personal opinion. So I actually like what I saw from him. He got 33% of the workload, where Samaje Perine only saw 46%. So keep that in mind if you are struggling at the running back position. Please comment down below if you have any questions about that. All right, I think our last matchup here for the afternoon slate, Chiefs at the Vikings. Probably Taylor Swift's going to be there. Can't wait for that one. 52.5. Chiefs are favored, obviously. Isaiah Pacheco he's picking it up, right? 60% of the workload, his highest percentage so far. Snap share, 20 attempts on the ground, 115 yards. He's looking great. So I think moving forward, Isaiah Pacheco is somebody that you must start going into the season, into week 5 at least. The Minnesota Vikings here on that side of the ball, Alexander Mattison, a risky start. Cam Akers is a must sit. Not somebody I'm willing to start with confidence. Alexander Mattison, 17 attempts, 95 yards on the ground, averaging over 5 yards per carry, which is great. Just got you over that 10-point threshold, but we're seeing Cam Akers being integrated little by little. So we'll wait and see what that looks like. All right, going to the Sunday night matchup. Only a couple more matchups here with you guys. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, okay? I know it's a lot of information, but hopefully we are helping you out. And for this game, let's not waste any time. Over under 45, 49ers. 49ers are favored. You start Tony Pollard, you start Christian McCaffrey. Don't overthink it. Next matchup. Packers at the Raiders. This one's very interesting here as well. The last matchup, Blaze is excited for that one. Packers at the Raiders, Monday night game, 44.5. The Packers are favored here. Aaron Jones, I do believe, is going to have a good bounce back game. He didn't have the best game coming into this week. I don't think he was healthy. Only 45 attempts on the ground. I think they kind of rushed his comeback there. But I do believe he will have a better game right before this bye week against the Las Vegas Raiders, who aren't the best against the run game aren't the best against the run. Okay, so keep that in mind. AJ Dillon, not the guy we all expected him to be. I was never a big AJ Dillon guy, so he's a must sit moving forward. And Josh Jacobs, the one that I really want to talk about here, he had his bounce back game, finished RB3 this past week, had over 27 fantasy points, and that's exactly what you expected from Josh Jacobs. And yeah, that's exactly what you expected from Josh Jacobs. Look, I don't expect the targets because Aiden O'Connell was definitely checking down significant amount to Josh Jacobs, but I do believe he will be better on the ground. Mind you, caught 8 out of 11 targets for 81 yards. That is kind of absurd for Josh Jacobs, but look, if Jimmy G looks like he's going to be coming back this week, hopefully we can get this offense going just a little bit more. And the run defense for the Green Bay Packers is not the best, where they gave up the 5th amount of fantasy points to the running back position. So I'm actually really excited for Josh Jacobs coming into this week. Guys, comment down below any questions, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, whatever question you have, start sit questions, trade questions, comment it down below. We're going to be answering every single comment and trying to give you as much much help as you can possibly get. And if you aren't in the best position for fantasy, that's okay, because there's still plenty of fantasy football to be played. Good luck going into week 5. I need a lot of good luck in some of my home leagues. One of my home leagues, I'm really disappointed. Another home league, I'm really excited. And that's kind of how you play fantasy football. You have the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. Well, we appreciate each and every one of you. Once again, comment down below. Let us know any question, comments, concerns that you do have. And before I let you go, as always, flockfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. Zach gives you all his rankings. Quarterback, wide receivers, tight ends, over 300 plus players he's ranking every single week to help you win your fantasy football matchups. All you have to do is sign up at flockfantasy.com/land. Whew. There it is, guys. Once again, appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.